So one of the biggest challenges for me when I first got into filmmaking was communicating what we do as filmmakers with people who have no idea how films are actually made. You all know the conversation. It's when you sit down with your friends and say, what's the difference between a producer and an executive producer and a line producer? And what happens in development, or what is post-production? Any of those things. Well, I had the same problem when it came to patrons or clients or anybody else I was working with. So a few years ago, I came up with this idea, is that there was 6 phases that every film goes through. Now it's turned into 8 with impact documentary filmmaking. But each one of those phases has a timeline and it has a distinct purpose in how we build a movie. And what I did is I took each one of these phases and I put it into a PDF document, and it had a brief description. But essentially, this is our film builder system. So anytime I would get on the phone with somebody, if somebody called and said, I have this idea for a film, I would hear them out. I'd say, we have about 20 minutes for a phone call. I'd love to hear more about your story that you're interested in your project. They would tell me what it is. And then I would go in and say, that's great. You know, we have a system that we do this, and it starts with your idea, then it needs to go into development. So I can't really tell you what your film's going to cost until we figure out some questions, and it takes us some time to do that. We have to write the script, and then we have to take that and break it down into a budget, and then we have to find out the characters and do a little research on them. So this kind of takes us some time, and it actually costs some money to develop an idea to figure out if it's good for you and for us. And then we go into pre-production. This is where we schedule everybody's time and make sure we can get to that location, get visas for international travel, whatever it is. And then we go into production. And production is where you and I both know is like we get out the cameras and we're able to communicate to them. This is what you see in the photos that everybody gets excited about, is that we have the cameras out and we're shooting interviews, and it's the fun stuff that actually we like to do. And then when we get back, we take those assets and we develop them down into, we start to cut them so that we can tell an entertaining, educational, and inspiring story that leads to what you want. And then from there, we go into marketing. If it's for marketing, we can skip that step, but if it's an independent film, we have to market it. And then we have to distribute it a certain way. We probably need to talk about that in development as far as, is this for social, or is this for a feature film for film festivals? Is this an impact doc? Is this self-distribution? Are you looking for a big distributor? What's your goal on that? And then we have to kind of get a plan for our impact. Impact just doesn't happen by showing a film. It's good to put some strategy to it. So we would tell our clients that. In 5 minutes, they understood those systems. And I said, and I'll also send you a PDF on what we just talked about. Well, here's the thing. There was always a businessman in the room that said, I still don't get it. And so sometimes for years, I scratched my head and I couldn't figure out, how do you communicate with somebody who understands brick and mortar? So I have this friend, his name's Josh. He's done a bunch of custom home builds. So Josh was telling me, I said, what does it take to build a custom home? And as he told me that story, I went, that's exactly what we do as filmmakers, is that we build custom homes. Sometimes we build contract homes for other people, but when it comes to independent documentaries, a lot of the times we're custom home builders. And so what I would tell these businessmen and people that were looking to be patrons or to support our films financially is I'd say, look, we build custom homes just like a custom home builder. Do you understand what a custom home builder is? All the time they go, yeah, we actually have one, or whatever it is. So what we would do is we would just come in and tell them very simply, you have an idea for a film, or we have an idea for a film, and we need to take that into development. And in development, just like custom home builder, we got to go find the lot. We got to figure out how much it's going to cost. We have to write up some blueprints so that everybody can understand what we need to build. And then we can actually find a budget for what it's going to cost. And we need to go to the city planner and figure out, can we build this home there? Whatever that is, right? And then I tell them, I have to do one other step, is we have to go to the bank. And we have to go find out if the bank is willing to give us the money, and do they trust us to do this? And I said, that is kind of me talking to you. And the bank will then tell that custom home builder, do you have a reputation? Have you done this before? All of a sudden, the bank wants to know, are you credible to do this? If the bank says yes, and we get the funding, then we go, just like a custom home builder, we go into production. That's when a custom home builder goes to Home Depot. We go to a location somewhere in the world, and we sit down with people and we capture their interviews and B-roll and whatever else we need for the story. Now we have a framed out house. It has a roof on it. Maybe there's some heat, but in post-production, we have the framework of the story. But then I just tell them, we have to figure out what color paint, what kind of counters are we going to have? What kind of hardwood floors do we want? Do we want hardwood floors? Is it linoleum? Is it a modern house? Whatever it is. And those post-production choices also have costs, but we've kind of figured out how much money we're going to spend, so we kind of know. And then from there, just like a custom home builder, he has to go out and market those things. So he takes photos, and just like we create a movie poster, they put things into ads. They start to talk to realtors, which are your distributors, and say, hey, we've got this film and it's got these reviews. People like it. It's this new custom home that's got solar. It's got all these different things that is intriguing to a potential buyer. And that's for us, I tell them that's reviews, getting into film festival, getting film festival wins, finding a target audience that's talking and wants our film. And then we have to create impact. And this is non-existent for some things, but let's say that I was building a custom home and the goal of that custom home was for people that needed an affordable place to live, or that they were container homes in Africa. And that the outcome wasn't that I was going to give them their money back, but we were going to provide homes for people who need it. I said, sometimes with impact documentaries, your outcome is not to pay the bank back because they don't necessarily want the money, but ours is to create impact and meaning in the world and things that matter, maybe creating social capital. And when we talk to investors, sometimes that's what they really want. They're not looking for their money back, but they want to know through all these phases, can we make impact in the world that's going to matter? This system is really interesting because what I've learned over the years is that most filmmakers like to do these two phases. They love production and post-production. I'm no different. This is where we get to tell stories in documentary. This is where we get to get our cameras out and actually create the art. But what gets neglected is these 6 other systems that are the business of filmmaking. This can take somewhere about 6 months to learn, especially because most people have these skills. If you're a doc filmmaker and you're just getting started, there's these 2 areas that you might be focused on. You're trying to learn cinematography and lighting and sound and all those things. And I would tell you, if you're in that space and you want to get good at it, there's some schools out there right now that are amazing for this. One would be AOD. AOD is one of the best, probably the Rolls Royce of film schools. They provide probably the best teaching that I've ever seen. And I've gone into their curriculum. I have a friend that's in the course, and he's shown me their curriculum. These are the cream of the crop guys. If you're wanting to learn these skills, AOD is for you. And also Full-Time Filmmaker. That's another great place to learn these tactical skills at an affordable price and learn together with other people. If you're a seasoned filmmaker and you've kind of got these down, you have a reel, but you want to move into original content and learn how to self-distribute, get distribution for your films, market and everything else, Doc Film School might be for you. This is your 10,000 hours, and this is the other things that you need to fill in. But once you figure it out, I'm telling you, it's given me a ton of freedom. When I first started filmmaking, what I was so excited about is I made a couple independent films, and then I started finding that people wanted to pay me to make these films that they wanted to make. And then sometimes they were commercials, and I didn't even care about those, but they were willing to let me do what I love to do, a fraction of it, and they would pay me for it. And I kind of got off track, and I started going down this road of just creating stuff because somebody would allow me to get my cameras out and do things, but I didn't really care about it. And about midway through that journey, I started waking up at night going, this isn't why I got into filmmaking. I wanted to make films that impacted people, that allowed them to be part of a bigger story. And there was an event in my life that I won't tell you about today, but at some point I may share it with you, that I had to get moving towards what I really cared about because my body of work didn't represent who I really was. And so this system has allowed us to do that. In the beginning, we probably worked on 50% client work and 50% independent films. Now, today, we work on 95 to 99% of our work year round is independent documentary impact films, and we make a living doing it. That has given us the freedom to do something different. The reason for this whole YouTube channel is to share how we do that with other people that are trying to figure this out, and they can't be ignored. The box needs to be filled, and if you take one of these out, the box doesn't work. If you're thinking about this and you're trying to figure out how to make independent documentary films, this might be something that's helpful. You can learn more. I kind of go into more in depth on each one of these phases in a free webinar on the Doc Film School website. So check that out. It's all free right now, and we're still developing the course. This was the last illustration that I tried to do in this other thing, so I'll just tell you why there's a piece of Lego sitting here, is that I found this and realized that these were my Legos from a kid. And as I was pulling this, I was like, this is nostalgic. I'm digging this. So I watched a movie and I just kind of put this block together. And I said, blocks. That's how I want to share our film builder system. I don't want to do graphics and everything else. I'm a tangible guy. This is kind of how we do things, is that I'm not going to put a ton of time and energy into making this big cinematic thing for you guys. I think you want the information. And so I want to give that to you as fast as I can. So I hope this is helpful. If you have anything in this that I can learn from you, put it in the comments or email, text, call me if you have any questions, or if you're working through a film that you need some help with. Be happy to help. And yeah, have a great day.